approves 5 billion each as palliative for states. Court strikes out federal government's firearms charge against Emefiele, reschedules his arraignment. Nigeria's euro bonds fall as federal government rules out petrol price increase. And outside of Nigeria, ECOWAS begins activation of standby force in Niger Republic. Senegal opposition leader in intensive care after 2 weeks of hunger strike. On Politics HQ tonight, we will be discussing Nigeria's federal cabinet as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has finally assigned portfolios to his ministerial nominees. Who gets what? What's the impact of the appointment? And what does this hold for the future of Nigeria's economy? My guests tonight are Senator Shehu Sani, Austyn Ogannah, publisher at The Wheel newspaper. I am Benga Aboroa. Stay with us, Politics HQ. We'll be right back. On Wednesday, the portfolios of Nigerian ministers were revealed with key appointments in the Ministries of Finance and Health. Wale Edun, a foremost Nigerian banker and close associate of the president, was named Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, while Dr. Ali Pate, a global health expert and Executive Director of Nigeria's Primary Healthcare Board, was named the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare. Other positions also saw the Ministries of Power, Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy go to some of the most publicly acclaimed professional Nigerians. However, some portfolios, according to many Nigerians, haven't ticked the right boxes. So tonight, at Politics HQ, we will look at the portfolios and what Nigerians stand to gain. My guests are Senator Shehu Sani, former lawmaker at the 8th National Assembly, and Austyn Ogannah, publisher, The Wheel newspaper. A warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for your time. It's a pleasure to have you both on Politics HQ tonight.
Thank you so very much.
Now, I'd like to start with you, Austyn. The allocation of portfolios is a very crucial aspect of the formation of the presidential cabinet. Can you elaborate on the intricate considerations involved in matching ministers' expertise, background, and capabilities with the responsibilities of their respective roles assigned to them?
Thanks again for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas and views on this subject. The administration of President Bola Tinubu came in with renewed hope mandate, and looking at the initial nominees and now minister-designates, you would see that a lot of work was put in to identify some of these people, even if most of us do not necessarily agree with some of the choices. But I've come to understand that leadership, when it's very easy for you to share your views and criticize when you're not sitting on the leadership position. But considering what they've done so far, I think that I would give probably 75-80% pass mark, considering that the number of people, the caliber of nominees that were initially presented, and I think there were 48. And at the end, I think 45 passed the Senate screening. So looking at the dynamics, I actually thought that one or two people, one or two nominees or minister designate may have been assigned a portfolio that I felt they would probably serve best in. We all thought that someone like Dele Alake, for instance, would easily have ended up as Minister for Information, but today he's not. He's in charge of, I think, solid minerals also. So these, I believe, were some of the considerations that that were put in before the final choices were made as per who gets what in terms of portfolios. But I want to say this because I think Bola Tinubu wasted a lot of time. It took too long to appoint his ministers, took too long to assign the portfolios. I would have thought that by now, considering that the economy is actually anemic,
Mm-hmm.
the economy is so bad. We've always known that the economy is bad, but the economy is actually in very terrible state. That I personally would have thought that President Bola Tinubu, at the end of June, would have had his cabinet
You'd
ready to
expect
run.
a better sense of urgency. Now, Austyn,
Oh,
when the
absolutely,
yes,
yes.
now when the initial list was put out, a lot of critics said, we're not really hopeful in this list because it seems like Mr. President is just paying back those who helped him to win in the polls. You look at a person like Chief Wike, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party. There are also people like Boyega Oyetola, who lost his gubernatorial seat in Osun State. There's a way of rewarding his cronies. Now that they've been assigned portfolios, in what ways do these assigned portfolios serve as a canvas for the president to paint his vision for the country's future? And how might this artistic approach influence policy development and implementation?
If you look at, like I said earlier, if you look at the quality of people that were chosen and are now ministers or ministerial designate, you would see that even with the creation of new ministries, you will understand that there's a sense in trying to rejig the entire federal system and how it works, so that you can achieve, or rather, so the government can achieve on some of these goals. And I'll tell you that there are actually 5 key ministries, that this administration needs to get right in terms of implementation, because these ministries actually have the right people. So you have health, for instance, you have solid minerals, you have petroleum, digital economy, power, and marine economy. These are the key, and of course, the Ministry of Finance. The Minister for Finance has a huge job. Nigeria is actually suffering from acute lack of finance. Government finds it hard to raise money to run its operations without going to borrow. The NNPC yesterday just took $3 billion from the Afrexim Bank to help the federal government meet obligations. So Wale Edo, as the Minister for Finance and Coordinator of the Economy, has his hands full already because the country is not making money. We're doing so terribly with our main revenue driver, which is crude. Crude is still suffering today. Sometimes you ask yourself what the guys in NNPC are doing because they are the biggest problem today.
Now,
People may not know it.
permit me to interrupt you for a second, Austyn. You reeled out these very important ministries. You talked about the finance ministry, petroleum, and all of that. From what we've seen and the assigned portfolios, where did we get it right? And where in this important ministries that you've laid out, are you not confident in the personnel that has been put there?
Like I said, they're just key for every administration for you to drive your policies. You need, the right people in the key ministries. And, I didn't add gas. Gas is another very important ministry. And of course, I believe it's going to be under President Tinubu, just like his predecessor did. So petroleum and gas will be right under under control of the president. But, there are some ministries, that are neither here nor there, that it really doesn't matter who is there, as long as they have a little capacity and understanding. But these key ministries, like I mentioned, if they do very well, they would, they'll cover, they would, they'll cover for the lapses, from, they'll probably come from one or two ministries because understanding how government works, these nominees were probably not known by the president. They were, some of them were people that were nominated by people. So there are tendencies that when these 45 people start formally in the FEC, in a year or two, you see one or two or three or four laggers, you definitely have that. You have that in every administration. But, as a new administration, you don't want a pool of your appointees to be people that are lagging, without capacity. So I believe that with the likes of Dave Umahi, heading works, in Nyesom Wike in the FCT, and others, I believe that they will over time be able, to help, cover up, the cover up for the laggers. And I
Okay.
believe at the end of the day, like for every new government, we just have to give them a chance.
Okay. Now, Austyn, how important is it for the ministers to have relevant expertise and experience in their assigned portfolios, and how might this influence policy implementation? You look at an example of the appointment of Festus Keyamo, a legal practitioner, as a Minister of Aviation. In the course of our discussion this evening, you also mentioned Dele Alake, who would have been a perfect fit in information. Are we not having a square peg in a round hole type of situation, or the person's background or expertise does not really matter in some of these appointments?
For me, some of these people are very smart. Festus Keyamo, SAN, distinguished attorney, is a very smart man. He'll probably not do well in a specific ministry that has to do with maybe surgeries and stuff like that. But aviation, is just to have the idea. The people that really do the work really are already there in the department. So you just have to have the foresight and the idea and bring the right advisors, technical advisors, and the right people to do the job. The minister does not go, the minister just dreams. You just dream that, look, this is the kind of aviation and aerospace industry that the country should have. Once you have that dream, you go out there to get the people to help you drive that dream. The same thing with Dele Alake. I think Alake is in mines,
Yes, solid
solid
minerals
minerals and
development.
natural resources. He just needs to have an idea of how these resources can earn money for the country, and then finds advisors and the people with the technical know-how to make it happen. As long as it's not a ministry that is specialized, say a ministry of surgery, or a ministry of nephrology or stuff like that. Once you're smart, once you can dream, that's why any smart person can be a president. As long as you can dream, you have ideas, you can make it happen. So I believe that the former deputy governor of the central bank, who was also a former ED of First Bank, Adelabu, is a good fit for the Ministry of Power. As long as he can dream that Nigeria should have power and knows what to do and is smart, get the right technical advisors to advise you, you get into the right deals, you do the right things, and you have results. So I believe that many smart, amongst all of them, the key ministries are being headed or are going to be superintended by the right people. Look at Dr. Pate, for instance. Dr. Pate is a fantastic fit for the Ministry of Health. You could actually move him from health to say Ministry of humanitarian services, and he will still fit in there
Mhm.
because he's smart. He understands these issues that have to do with human beings. So, you know, I know that I have issues with some of the appointees, particularly those that were appointed to defense. I do not see any reason why Matawale, or I can't remember his name, I think he's the governor of Matawale. I think Matawale
Yes, former
is
governor of
Zamfara,
Zamfara, Minister of
and
State for
yeah,
Defense.
and yes, and the former governor of I think Jigawa. I don't remember his name now. I don't think they have the Minister of Defense. You know, I don't think they're smart enough, to be in the Ministry of Defense. So these are some of, the issues, but I am willing to give them a chance. I am willing to give them a chance, but I don't think that they
Okay.
understand the issues of security because, terrorism in their state and banditry when they were governors was at record highs. What did they do then? I don't even think they even deserve to be in the federal cabinet, but I'm willing to give them a chance to prove themselves. I may
Okay.
be wrong. A lot of Nigerians may be wrong as well,
Thank
but
you,
you just never
Austyn.
know.
I'd like to bring in our second guest into the conversation at this point, Senator Shehu Sani, a former lawmaker. Senator Sani, a warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us on Politics HQ.
Thank you for having me.
Senator, the much-awaited list is out and portfolios have been assigned. What's your assessment of Mr. President's assigning ministers to their portfolios? Are there any ministers that stand out, and what's your general take on this list that was released 24 hours ago?
Thank you once again. Well, first of all, when the president took over power on May 29 this year, some few days after, there was a statement that there is going to be a government of national unity. Later, it was changed to government of, is it national competence or what do they call it? And then expectation was raised that the people, the caliber of people that will be brought into the government will be people whose major credentials is their merits and competence. But despite the weight, what we have seen later was that the president wasn't able to reenact his achievement as a governor of Lagos State when he selected some of the best 11 to pioneer the affairs of governance in that state from 1999 to 2007. In the sense that if you will fairly assess this cabinet, you can say that, first of all, there are people who merited being in the federal cabinet. Someone like Ali Pati, Dr. Ali Pati of Health, Tuga of Foreign Affairs. These are people who have over the years proven to have achieved a lot in their areas and discipline or in the course of their profession. But there are liabilities which the president has brought. Maybe is the exigencies of politics whereby he has to please appease people who feel entitled, especially the former governors. From all indications, there is mostly people who will be said to be square pegs in a round hole. The last speaker has made some points. I have no problem with the credentials of the governors, but the fact is that for a government that has taken over and appears to be determined to address the problem of Nigeria by hitting the ground running, what we have seen now is that many of these ministers are simply going to be learning on the job. My friend Festus Kiamo is a nice guy. He's a brilliant lawyer. But I don't know what he knows about aviation. Dele Alake has all been in the media, and we have both been in trenches for a long time, and he's now in solid minerals. And then we now have also a defense minister who is a governor of Jigawa State, who have no experience of security matters. And a country that is facing serious security challenges, the expectations that we will have either a retired army, naval officer, or an air force officer who will take over, whose major credentials is accomplishment while in the course of his profession. But we now have a governor from Jigawa State. In fact, Jigawa is not even one of the states that could have been said to have been facing serious insurgency as our states in the Northwest, where you would say perhaps because he must have learned the ropes while he was a governor. So as for the president, most of those he has appointed are actually people who will be starting from the creche to nursery and primary, and then they learn. But do we have
Nigeria doesn't have that time and luxury to allow ministers to learn on the job. Now, Senator Sani, staying with you, I remember speaking to you on this program when the initial list came out, and you were particularly concerned about the inclusion of Malam Nasir El-Rufai, who's from your state. Now, with Nasir El-Rufai's nomination failing to pass the Senate screening, what political factors do you think might have contributed to this outcome? And how might it affect Kaduna State representation in the cabinet?
First of all, I'm very happy that he has failed to meet the screening process, because he is not fit to be a minister in Nigeria. Many people do say that he is competent, he is a technocrat, he will achieve a lot, all this nonsense. Now, you ask yourself, you know Messi, you know Ronaldo, and you know some of the best players in football. Why can't we say that if they misbehave on the field, so they should simply continue to play? Why does a referee has a yellow card and a red card, irrespective of whether you're a good player or not? He is not competent to serve as a minister for the reason which I have raised. First of all, has to do with utterances that come from his mouth. How can a public officer, a man in his 60s, will look at a nation of Muslims and Christians and make disclosure that he wants a certain religion has to be in power for more than 2 decades and a half? The same person has made some. Now, if you watch the U.S. Congress, you see how political appointees are being drilled. Mm-hmm. You will be drilled about your personal life, drilled about your public life, drilled about everything that you did and that you say, and a simple statement can disqualify you from being in office. Now, that is a society and a nation that is run on laws, on ethics, on morals. Now we have to continue to build on this legacy. Doesn't mean if you can construct a road or bridge or do this and that, now you will be disrespectful of the law of the country. If you have a man here who has no respect for rule of law and who doesn't obey court orders, and he has been reputed to be that kind of person, now how do you give a man who is bad in behavior to your daughter to marry simply because the man is rich? The marriage will not last. So I'm happy that he has been ejected out of that. And people like him should need to know that this country is fragile and it is being managed, and that whoever is going to take over the position of power or leadership in positions like that should, first of all, one should be a respecter of law, and one that will respect our diversity, should not be a bigot, a religious extremist, or a fanatic, or one who will exploit our religious differences. So that is it.
Okay.
Other nominees in that cabinet are people who don't need to be there. President Tinubu is simply wasting his time by appeasing people to because they are feeling entitled that they have supported him. If you have actually supported Tinubu because you believe in him, or because you believe in the principle of rotation of power, why must it be you that you must be there in the cabinet? And if it is not you, it means that all that you have done for him is simply for you to get employed.
Yeah.
So that is my candid opinion on this.
Thank you very much, Senator Shehu Sani. I'd like to bring back Austyn Ogannah into the conversation. Austyn, earlier during our conversation, you did talk about the current state of the economy. You did say that it's anemic, so it's a very, very important portfolio. Now, let's look at the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, in charge. His dual role as Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy suggests a focus on economic coordination. Now, Austyn, how might this coordination impact fiscal policies and overall economy of the country? Is he the right fit to address the current economic challenges and promote sustainable growth, looking at his antecedents?
We all know Wale Edu to be a very smart man. We followed him from his time as a commissioner in Lagos State under the administration of Bola Tinubu at that time, and even after the administration, he went. I mean, he's an investment banker. He knows how to raise money. He knows how to create wealth. I think he just has he has the capacity. He just has to follow the blueprint of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who also occupied a similar role under the Obasanjo, and I think she was just Minister of Finance under Obasanjo, and then under Jonathan, she was Minister of Finance and, of course, coordinator of the economy. With the way with the new structure that we're seeing, the new ministries that have been created, and all the advisories that we've seen, and the mindset of the current administration, I think Wale Edu will really have to, pull all the strings. There is no rest time for him. Nigeria needs to start earning money. Nigeria needs to walk away from borrowing. Nigeria needs new sources of revenue to run the state. And I would expect that Mr. Wale Edu is ready to, to pull up his sleeves and go find us the money. The revenue leakages has to stop. Crude theft has to stop. We have to increase crude production. Our gold and natural resources that have been stolen in the north, and the proceeds being pocketed by political leaders there and the mercenaries have to stop. Monies for the federal government has to go to the federal treasury. So I believe that he knows that the problems are enormous, and I've always said that our biggest problem in Nigeria, is not with monetary policy, but instead with the fiscal side. The fiscal has failed this country. They've been failing us all the years, from the administration of Goodluck Jonathan till date. They have not done what they need to do. Because if you police federal wealth, if you police monies that are meant to go to the treasury, if you reduce the waste in government and realign policies and follow it through, if you stop the military and their cohort from stealing our crude, if you stop all these rackets, I believe that we'll have enough money to run the state. And I believe that Mr. Edu is ready for this battle, because we definitely cannot continue to borrow money to sustain the economy. It's just not doable anymore.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I would like to pose this final question to Senator Shehu Sani. A lot of analysts have said the emergence of Chief Nyesom Wike, who's a member of the opposition People's Democratic Party, is just a reward by Mr. President for the role he played in his emergence as president. Now, Nyesom Wike has been named the Minister of the FCT, and this might signal an interesting dynamic given his previous role as a state governor. He was nicknamed Mr. Project. Senator, how might this background influence his approach to his portfolio? What do you make of his appointment?
I can divide Wike into two. As a politician, he has betrayed his party. He has been the Judas of the PDP, and because of his rebellion, he led to the loss of the party. And the best advice for him is simply to defect to the APC, because as long as he remains in the PDP will not be able to provide the opposition to play the role of opposition. Now, that is it. But in terms of competence, where he has been placed, I believe that he can achieve a lot. He is known to be a performer as far as his state is concerned. Many projects were executed in state and of high quality, and we need such kind of vision and vigor at the FCT. FCT has been on the decline for a number of years. Many streets have no light. Insecurity has crept in. Residential buildings were converted to either shopping malls or hotels. Violations of building codes and also the laws establishing development control. And so many things are happening in the FCT. We need someone who will restore order and sanity, and I believe he's capable. But on the political side, I think it's better he should just come to APC, because his presence there is seriously undermining the role PDP should play as an opposition. He has gotten his 30 pieces of silver. He should be contented with that and allow those who wants to be in the opposition to be. But he has done. He can achieve a lot as a minister, I believe.
Thank you very much, Senator Shehu Sani. You said Chief Nyesom Wike should do the honourable thing and decamp to the APC. I would like to say thank you to my distinguished guest tonight in Politics HQ, Senator Shehu Sani, former lawmaker, and also Austyn Ogannah, publisher at the Will newspaper. I do appreciate your insights and your contribution to the program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.